So you put your first quill in, pretend that I haven't put a quill in. And you put one hole at one side of your line, and then with your nice straight pin, and you put a hole at the other side. So before you ever touch a quill, you're gonna have 2 holes in your birch bark. 2 holes. Then you take a nice quill, and the reason why I said 3/4 of an inch, because we're not gonna have all quills that are gonna span a full inch. And then we hunt for the perfect quill, which is never easy. This is too thick, but we'll use as an example so everybody can see. Now you make sure your quill has 2 tips on the end. So one end goes in one side, just the very end, and you bend it over. That's why it's nice and wet, so it'll be flexible, and it goes in the other hole. Then that's when you take your tweezers, you grab just the very end of that quill, just the very end, you pull a little bit in this end, and then you pull a little bit in this end, and you keep shimmying it until it's down nice and flat. So there, and you make sure your first quill is nice and straight against the edge of your pattern, because every other quill is going to be based on that very first straight quill. So if you start off crooked, well then everything else is gonna get crooked.
So we use the needle to guide us.
You use the needle to guide you. So so to know where your next quill goes in, you still keep your line visible, but you take your needle and you bunt it right up against that last quill, like that. And that's why we need the nice, long, straight pin. So it's nice and flush, and then you keep an eye on where your line is, and you know that next quill is gonna go right there. And then you flip it around, flush it up nice, follow your line. Now it could be a round line, it could be a triangle, but that's why you have your line, is to follow it. And then you take your next quill, and you put the ends in. And sometimes you can just put one end in, give it a little tug, and then bend over your other one. Some people like to use their tweezers to do that. And then you can guide it in nice, as long as you don't squeeze your quill too much with the tweezers, because that could compromise your work.